Hi, this is the second ShareVision training video, and in this video we're just going to cover a little bit about navigation. So here we are, still on ShareVision. Just want to take note here, up here it says welcome test 2. This should be your name. You should always be logged in as yourself when you're working on ShareVision, creating anything in ShareVision under your name. So first that's how you can see who's logged on. The other thing I just want to take notice of here is the announcements section. So on the main page there's this area called announcements, and those announcements they're usually stuff that I need to communicate with people. Sometimes it's about something people are doing wrong or just about something you should know about. So the announcements, and then over here we also have a list of links. Now these are places where you might want to go on other places on the internet. So for example, Government of Alberta phone directory, lots of times we need a number from somebody who works for the government, so you can get it there. Or if you want to do training, ShareVision training, then here's the address of the CSS Moodle site. If there's a link that you think should go up there, then let me know. Send me off an email and let me know what you think should be up there. I have no problem adding new things there. Okay, a couple other things here. Across the top we have tabs, and so these tabs take you to different places in the database. And down the side here we have what's called the navigation bar, and so these are other places that you can go. And this navigation bar changes depending on where you are in the database. So it is different on the main page than when you go to the programs or when you go to an actual client page. So just a couple of things about the tabs here. The ones that people use most often are programs and residences. So if you click programs, you will actually get a list of programs that you work for and you therefore have access to. So only the programs you work for or have access to will appear there, and so in this case it's only the wood shop. There are no other programs. And same for residences. Residences are any group living situation where we have clients, and so here we only have one program, and it's the test home. And again, you'll see the residences that you work in and therefore should have access to. Okay, so programs and residences. We also have the Aboriginal Resources site. This is a place where we have links to some Aboriginal resources down here, and then there's also some activity calendars here as well. And so that's available to everybody. One other tab that we haven't talked about yet is the Contacts tab. The Contacts tab, right here, very few people are allowed to access this tab. In fact, if you click on it, you will end up going to an error message, and it says error, access denied. In fact, it's not an error. It's purposely your access has been denied to that particular area. That's because the Contacts tab actually lists all the clients that are in the database, and so very few people have access to this, and in fact you don't need access to it. So we're just gonna to get back, I just click go back to the site. So I am back, and here we go, we're back onto the main page. Down here, so that's the tabs. Down here we have the navigation bar. And so a couple of features on the navigation bar: ask questions. If you want to ask me a question, you can do it right here. And in fact, you can see questions that other people have asked me, and so sometimes you can, read the answers to some of those questions, and you'll find the answer to your question. So if you want to ask me a new question, you just click New and fill in the form. And like I said before, you can look at other questions that people have asked me, and if you just click on them, then it will show you what my answer was. So sometimes you can actually find the answer to whatever you want to know just by clicking on one of these. Okay, so we'll also take a look. The other thing here is request to add staff or change access. So this is a place in the database where usually program managers and supervisors, this is where they would request to have a new staff account created. And so you just click New and away you go. Now you should be the supervisor of the person to request a staff account, although you could request access to be changed. Really, it should be done by a supervisor, though, as well. Another area here is request a client to be added. So anybody can do this. So if you're serving a new client and that client's name is not yet in the database, you can come here and you request it. I actually add clients 2 or 3 times a day, so you actually don't have to wait very long before the client will be added. And some programs have their own people who do this, and so then that's fine. You just let them know and they'll add them to the database. There's only about 6 or 7 people currently in the entire agency who can add clients to the database. And that's because most of them are admin staff. That's because in the old database there were lots of times when we had clients in there 3, 4, sometimes even 5 or 6 times. And so when we moved on to ShareVision, we wanted to try to find an answer to having duplicate clients in the database. In fact, well, it's not just that we wanted to find an answer. In fact, if you have clients in the database more than once, the database actually doesn't work properly. So it's more than just we want to have control that creates that need. So, but it's very easy. You just click New and you fill in a few fields, and then the next time I come in here and take a look, I will add the new client to the database. Again, quite often I do it, 2 or 3 times a day, in the first thing in the morning and last thing before I leave for sure, and then often I'll stop in there once or twice. And again, it's just a few questions. It's a new client, the first name, middle name if you have it, last name, date of birth, best to use the calendar, and then what program do they belong in. You'll only see the programs that you have access here to, and what is the address. Now if it's a group home, I have the address, you don't have to give it to me. But if it's a program, then when we add the client to the database, we should also have the address, postal code, and most of the time a phone number. And then that's all you do. You just press OK to save it, and I will be able to see that. And if you change your mind or whatever, then you just press cancel, and you will not have filled it in. Like I said before, you only see your items here, and in fact you can come back here and you'll see that I've checked off your item and it'll say completed, or if for some reason I can't do it because you haven't given me the proper information, you'll see a note over here. Just a minute, I'm gonna make it so you can see an example of that. So I just put an example in the database so you see it magically appear here for you. And in fact, if you had made this request and you came back to check to see if I had done it, what you would see is completed here, and it would say yes. If I hadn't seen it yet and hadn't done it yet, this would be blank. All right, so that's request to add a new client. There's also some sites here on the nav bar that you're not allowed access to. So for example, if you're not a member of the QI committee, you can't go to the QI committee site. If you're not a community, family, and children's services manager, you can get on their manager site. So for example, one last thing on the nav bar is My Reminders. Now this is pretty handy. If you just click on My Reminders, what that does, what you can do here on this list is you can just create reminders of things that you have to do. So maybe there are meetings that you have to go to, or there are reports that when reports are due. It's quite easy, and what you can do is tell the system to email you a reminder to do something. So you just click Add New Item, and you just fill it in. So for example, I might say report due for Bob Smith, and notes, quarterly report, and the report is due for Bob Smith. I just want to put a date due in there, so it's due say March 13th. I want the system to remind me that 2 weeks before it's due that I have to have that report done for March 13th. So when I'm happy with what I put here, I just press OK, and the system will save that, and in fact I will get an email reminding me of this report that has to be done. If I want to change it, so say it's like, 2 weeks, maybe that's too soon, maybe I want a week before. I can simply come down here, get the arrow beside view, and edit the item. And so what I'm going to do now is I want to say not 2 weeks, but 1 week before. That's a better timeline, and press OK. So you can come back here and change anything you want. In fact, in anything you create in ShareVision, you can always come back and get this edit function here. And in fact, in this case, you can actually delete items from your reminders. You often won't be able to delete items in other areas, but on this particular list, you are allowed to delete them. Okay, so I think anytime I want to go back to the home page, I just click Home, or in fact, actually, I can come up here and click Catholic Social Services. Doesn't matter. Either one will take me to exactly the same place. And I think that's pretty good summary of how to navigate on ShareVision. So I think in the next video we'll talk more about the things that you can find on the Programs and Residences tab. So until then, have a great day.